I'm going to go on my little rant. Feel free to cut out whatever doesn't feel relevant because I can get very ranty about this. Um, I came to Tyler from a perspective of like not having had the best experience with the fitness industry in the past, just around a lot of like weight loss focused approaches that felt very punitive and felt just not enjoyable, right? Like I just would feel a lot of guilt. And so it was hard for me to stick with any of it. And I knew that I wanted to have a different approach to movement and I wanted it to be something that was going to feel pleasant and not like I was punishing my body because I'm not I wouldn't stick with it if it didn't feel good. So when I met Tyler, I was very excited by Tyler's approach that is more about like offering movement as play and as a source of enjoyment in adults' lives. And that really resonated with me because I needed to reconnect with my body and rediscover what like joyful movement could be. And so I've really enjoyed that. Like we do a lot of our workouts are outside. A lot of our workouts tend to have a more playful nature, or that Tyler's gotten me into like certain sports, and not just being in a stuffy gym, just like lifting weights mindlessly. Like that was never going to work for me. And so Tyler started to like really pique my competitive side with like boxing and just like a desire to get better at that because there's a technique to it. And so that aspect really helped. The other thing is, I feel like Tyler has a weight neutral approach. I've never worked with a trainer that wasn't sitting there trying to be like, count my calories and try to give me like nutrition advice and all of that. And I explicitly like, I don't want that. So the fact that Tyler has always had a very like non-judgmental, like non-weight focused approach was for me key in making sure that I enjoyed this and that I stuck with it because yeah, I think I said enough.
Thank you. Okay, yeah, that was great. What makes you feel guilty, like in the past?
I think it was a sense of like if a lot of times it was like if I felt like I didn't follow the instructor's nutrition advice,
Mm,
that like often I would hear things like, well, if you want to build muscle you just have to do this, and it's not just about exercising. You're wasting your time if you're just going to come here and exercise and then go home and eat whatever you want. I've heard all of that before, and it was like, well, but maybe I don't want to build like to get super whatever, like to bulk up, or I just want to move my body. And that should be enough. And while I know there's a lot of professionals that have a lot of like nutrition knowledge, etc., I have other health related things that make it so that I actually need to listen to
mhm.
my doctor on my nutrition advice. So to me it never felt like, and it just felt like I said, it felt like punishment, right? And I wondered like if my body looked a different way, would they have that same opinion too? So it always just made me feel judged basically for being a fat person. And like the gym is already not a welcoming place to a person in a bigger body. And so I think like having trust with my trainer and feeling like they're not there to judge me. They're not there to like overstep. They're there to cheer me on, to show me how to do this in a way that works for me and that makes me want to keep coming back is key. And it's rare. So I'm grateful that I have that with Tyler.
Nice. Thank you. Wow. Wow. Yeah. I feel like I've always been like this and I didn't know how, like you say, rare it was. I really, because,
Yeah.
I don't be having trainers. So I didn't know. But w- while I was in the fitness industry, I did see it. But I don't know. I got that. That seemed like that's what people wanted.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think some people do, but it's like I had a trainer and this was a trainer, I actually stuck with her for a while. It was total like punishment, right? But it was like very focused on weight loss. I was losing weight, so I like stuck with it, because that's the other thing is I thought, oh, how do I say this? Like, there was this narrative of willpower. Um, like, you're only not going to be successful if you don't have the willpower to stick with it, right? And so even that is such a like guilt trippy thing where it's like, no, this is hard. And like with her, I was working out 6 days a week without any rest in between. It was like intense. She had me on those like calorie apps. Every day I would like have to screenshot like my macros to text to her. And so like if I didn't eat the right things, like I'd get in trouble. And it worked for a while. Like I lost a bunch of weight, but like I didn't feel good about myself, about exercise, right? And so the minute like I had to stop because like my dad had a like heart surgery, so I had to go to Texas to take care of him. I couldn't sustain that when I was going through a stressful moment, right? So like instead of exercise being a source of stress relief and a source of like, oh, this is like the thing I'm gonna do to take care of myself while I'm doing this thing, it was just like one more punishment. And I'm like, I'm already over here having to take care of a sick person. I don't need more punishment in my life. So it wasn't sustainable. I think like I truly think that if I was going through the same thing now, that I would be able to maybe not maintain the same routine, but that I would be intentionally finding a time to like sneak out and go get some exercise, because now it feels like stress relief.
Wow, that's crazy. That makes me really mad.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes me really mad. It makes me feel like I gotta keep doing this then. Because
Yeah.
that makes me really mad. When I worked at Orange Theory, I would see like people would have conversations about like summer bodies, and like
Mm-hmm.
there's a couple vegans, you know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
there's like a habit burger next door. And for some reason he was subbing the night class, and I was there, and like these were my, night class people. And he was the vegan coach. We were talking about food because we're like, what are we gonna eat after? Oh, habit burger, blah blah blah. And the coach was like, oh yeah, well, if you want to eat a fat piece of meat and right after you work out, and you're just gonna be that fat piece of meat or something like that. And I gave him the look.
Yeah.
I was like, don't you ever say that in front of me. Like, what?
Yeah.
I was like, I was so shocked. I was like,
Yeah.
what the? I was like, is this how
The
he talks to
judgment.
y'all? Is this how he
Right.
talks to y'all every night? I was like, why y'all didn't tell me? Like, what?
That is exactly it. And then people are like, oh, fat people need to exercise. And then y'all treat fat people like that when they arrive. And it's like, why would they want to? Like that, the gym was never a welcoming place for anybody. Honestly, I feel like it's not welcoming to anybody, because
It's
even fit
not.
people are over there having to like, I don't know, perform,
No,
it feels like.
yes, like fit people, like the fitness industry standard people are really the most anxious people I've ever met, to be
Yeah.
honest.
Right.
Like I went to this fitness event a couple of years ago. It was like an online, because I was transitioning to online fitness. I was learning about all these things. There was like all these trainers there. I was like, okay, cool. I'm gonna meet people, blah blah blah. Man, I walked in, and I'm sensitive. I'm a very sensitive person, so I felt the anxiousness in the room. Like, and then I got into the elevator with this lady, and she was like, oh. I was like, oh, are you okay? She's like, I'm just really anxious. I was like, oh, why? Is it something happening? Like, should I know about something? Like, are we going down right now? Like, I was like, what if she was scaring me? And she's like, no, I'm just always like this. I was like, oh, wow, that sounds horrible.
That sounds miserable. Exactly.
And she had these little short shorts on with the butt crack sewn in, and I was just like, and there was so many people walking around like that. And I was like,
Yeah.
wow. Anyway, it's just, and I'm like, if you're like this, how are your clients?
Right.
Like,
Right.
that's what I was thinking. Like, your poor clients, dude. Like, anyway, so
Yeah.
anyway, thanks. This is good motivation for me to keep trucking along.
Yes.